Hello everybody and welcome back. Today we're going to get into doing the doors and I guess just generally try to finalize this so we can move on to the interior in the next part. So now we're going to just start off with the doors and we'll do the main door. But before we do that, we're going to put a little frame around because as you can see there's a lot of stone work here. So obviously the door is not connected to the stone. So we're just going to put a little tiny, almost like a door frame. Sort of inset a little bit, and we'll put it in, say 3 inches. It's probably good enough. So we got a line there like that. So now we'll draw a line around, and then we'll actually get rid of this and push this line back to there. And now we can use this sort of as our frame piece. So we will take our push-pull tool, tap Control, and then we can push it back, say 5 inches. Now we can erase this, and yeah, you can see that it got pushed back. Let's erase that as well. And then we can start pulling these in. We're not going to pull it in too far, maybe 0.5 of an inch. And then we can go around and erase all these little lines. Erase our guides and erase that line there. And so that'll be the frame. So now we can get out of the first floor component and actually start working on the door itself. So we'll just get our rectangle tool. And we'll drag a box and fill in this door frame. And so that'll be the door. So we'll triple click this, say G, say front door, and we'll just reverse the face, keep it clean. And then just so we can actually work on the door itself, because it's a little cumbersome to go in and out of the component here, we'll just turn off the first floor. I guess we'll turn off everything else as well. And yeah, so obviously some of these components aren't in the correct components that they should be in, so we'll just click and drag some of these. First floor, this is on first floor as well. There we go. And so if we look at the door itself here, it's basically all of a window. The bottom is a little bit thicker than the sides, but we can just go and pull that through. Take our offset tool here and pull this in maybe 5 inches, and then we'll pull the bottom up an extra 4 inches, and then we can pull this through 2 inches, go and offset that again, and then push this back 0.75. So this will be our window. We can offset the window itself, say 0.5, and we'll just add a little bit of a frame. So we'll control push this 0.5 that way. Actually, let's go 1/4 of an inch. And then same on the back there. And we'll just paint this the glass texture color. So that's essentially the base of the door. We'll actually go ahead and put in, say maybe a 1.5 inch, a little metal strip on the outside here, just to give it more of a storm door look. I'll pull this out 1/4 of an inch, maybe a little bit thinner than that, 1/8 of an inch. And we'll just taper the edge here. Just drag it all the way across to there. So now we'll move on to the handle, and we'll make it very similar to the handle upstairs on the sliding door. That was about 2'10" to the center. And so we'll drag one from the side there, drag another one down from here so we have it on the face of the door. And then another one, well, we have, 5 inches, say 2.5 inches, just to center it. And so then we can, if we just look at the door handle on this, it's very difficult to see, but it's definitely sort of a similar loop. And then it's got a little bit of a button or some sort of little trigger on the top there to actually open the door or unlock it. And I think what we'll do is we'll take the handle out from the sliding door and we'll just modify this a little bit, just so we can keep the theme very similar. And we'll paste this here and move it out a little bit. So basically this, and now we'll go in and make unique to make sure that we don't modify the one on the other door. And we'll pull this down a little bit, I think, just so that we can have the deadbolt be above it and actually be able to use it. And pull it in on the bottom as well to keep it uniform. And then we'll draw in a box. And we'll try and keep this relatively uniform as well, just drawing a guide here. 1.25 that way, 1.25 this way, and there, and then we can push this through 1/4 of an inch as well, and then just grab this face here and we can scale it, but you can also scale both sides if you just tap Control. And we'll just taper it a little bit that way and then a little bit this way, not completely uniform. And then we'll grab this one, hit K so we can see it, and pull it out to the face just so we can see the line there. And then we'll take this circle right here, and we'll use this as basically the thumb button to open the door. We'll scale it up a tiny bit. So I think this line is what centered itself. So we'll bring this over 1/8 of an inch, and then we can draw these lines in and across like that. Now we'll grab all of this and push it in a little bit like that. And we can grab our rotate tool, and I'll just center it on this face, which should be perpendicular to it, and angle it down a little bit. And then we'll grab our push-pull tool and pull it down 1/8 of an inch. And then we can draw these lines in here. And then erase these lines. And then we'll go and add a little bit more detail and just draw in a sort of a space where this would fit. And then push this in like that. I think that looks alright. And maybe we won't square that off so much as we have done. So we'll just grab these two lines again. We can't grab the center face now because it's going to start manipulating the inside there. But we can still grab these two lines and pull these out. And maybe just a little subtle taper. And maybe it's a little too much. So we'll just go into the door handle again. We'll grab the back of this because it's probably sticking out maybe a little bit too much. And now that we have this, we can just say move. And then we can just pull this anywhere we want. So we'll pull that out 1/8 of an inch now. Grab all of this stuff and move that in 1/8 of an inch. Then just grab this little support piece and scale it back over to there. There we go. And because this is only 1/8 of an inch thick now, I'm going to pull this out just a tiny bit and then reverse those faces, just so that it's not clipping with the door anymore. And maybe we'll keep the deadbolt on the same plate. So we'll just pull this up a little bit, and then we can draw in a center line there, and then we can draw out a circle. We'll add a few more faces, say 40 faces to this, and pull that out, and maybe there. We can erase that and maybe push this up a tiny bit, and then push this down. And so now we can pull this out, not too far, to about there. Then we can scale down this face a little bit, just give it a taper. And then we can say offset, pull that into about there, and then push this back in a tiny bit. Just a little bit of a detail. Then we'll offset this again to about that big. So then we'll draw in a rectangle. This will be sort of the keyhole slot. And we'll just try and center this and pull it down. And maybe try to do it a 1/64th, maybe 1/80th. We'll grab this ring and we'll offset this out a little bit. Not too far, just as a little gap in between the different pieces there. And then we'll grab this and pull it back in like that. And that'll be the keyhole. And that'll do it for the door. So we'll just grab all of it and group it again, say front door full. And so now if we unhide the first floor, you can see there we have that fitting in there. And then we can move on to the side door. And now what we can do for the side door is pretty much just copy and paste this, except what we'll do, because you can see on the exterior here, is there isn't really a window in this, or at least if there is, it's not visible. So we're not going to include one. So we'll just bring this over to here and then rotate it. And we'll turn off our shadows right there. And we'll pull this in 0.75. Now, if you look at this door again, it doesn't look like it gets inset very far because it almost has a door frame around it, unlike the front door. So we won't set it in too far, and we will actually go into the first floor component and pull it over to meet the size. And we'll pull down the height a little bit as well to there. And again on this, it also looks like the door handle's on this side rather than that side. So I think what we'll do is we will say make unique, and then also go ahead and scale -1, and then move it back over to line up with this side. And so now we'll go into the door, and effectively all we'll do is erase all of the interior components of it. Erase that. And we just want to make it a flat door. And then that's erased. Now we'll just pull this across to here. And then that'll do it for the door itself. And now we'll do an actual frame, and we'll put that in the first floor component. So what we'll do is just grab the three exterior lines for the door frame, and then we can take the offset tool, and we'll offset these out 4 inches. Almost looks more like an interior door with a frame that thick. So I think what we'll do actually is make it a little bit of a thinner door frame. Just say 2 inches, and pull that out 1/2 of an inch. I think that looks a bit better. It looks like a back door, obviously. Very simple, no window, and makes sense for it being going into the garage. But we can also do, just while we're doing this anyway, we'll just go in and do the interior frame and offset that out to 2 inches. Pull this in, same as the outside, 0.5. But also what we'll do, because this is thicker on this side, we'll just go ahead and draw in a line around. And we'll actually draw one on the bottom because this will make this step a little bit easier. And then offset it, 0.5. Then we can erase the middle and pull this down to the bottom. Now we can pull this through, say, 3 inches to there. And so that gives you sort of a door stop to prevent the door from swinging in further than it's supposed to. And I guess what we should also do is we'll take this handle and we'll put one of those on the inside. And so we'll just press K and move it through so that we can line up exactly where it is on the other side, and then pull it through on the green axis to there. And so now we have a door on the inside, except instead of having a keyhole on the inside, we'll say make unique on this, and we'll pull these lines back out again. And we'll draw in another rectangle, and this one will basically act as the deadbolt lock from the inside. And I'll make it a little bit thinner. And then we can try and center this up right there. We can pull that out about 1/4 of an inch. And maybe a little bit taller. Erase these lines. You can smooth them out if necessary with the control key. And so that will do it for the interior knob. And I guess what we'll do is actually take that interior handle as well and copy it over to the front door before we forget. Bring this over to here, go into this and paste it. Now I'll have to rotate it 90 degrees to there, and we'll press K again so that we can line up the exterior and exterior handles like that, and pull this in on the green axis until it either snaps, or we can just turn off K again and then line it up. There we go. And then that'll do it for that door. And now what we'll do is move on to actually something we forgot last time. So we'll turn on the second floor. We did these sort of, I guess, pillar tops, and we missed this one. So we'll just go in and do this one really quick. Control on the push-pull tool and line it up with the bottom of that. And now these came out, I think it was 0.75, yeah, 3/4 of an inch. And then just pull this out across to there, and then 0.75 that way. Erase the line, there we go, and that'll do it for that one. And then just as sort of another additional exterior detail, if we look at the plan here, there is actually a little bit of a footing of gray that goes around on the outside. And just looking at this here now, it almost looks to me if this section here on the garage door is a little thinner on this plan than it is on our physical house, but I'm not sure how to make that any thinner. So if I just pull this over here so I can have both images on the screen. It sort of lines up with the top of that, and both of these top and bottom windows are about the same height, so I'm not trying to change that, so we'll just leave that for now. That's not too big of a deal. But we will go in and add the sort of the footer detail around. So we'll just go and pull the base up, go into the first floor, and we'll say 4 inches, and then we'll just draw a line around the base here. And this will just add a little bit more character to it, maybe make it look a bit more realistic, where the sort of the foundation and the siding would all sort of line up. We can probably go ahead and add a door frame to this as well. as this will most likely be the wooden siding. So we'll just do a very similar trim to the garage door. 0.5 there, like that. Drag this over and drag up another guide 4 just so we can keep it consistent. And so for the garage, we'll just pull it into where the door is and then pull a line straight down from there. And then we'll do the same on the other side. And then we can just push this in, say 0.25. And remember, you can just double click with the push pull tool and it will go to the last inputted measurement. And then we'll just go around and clean up the base and then the underside where all the extra push lines are going to be. Alright, I think that does it for all those little extra lines. So we'll turn off K again and go out and just have a look at it. And it just gives you a little bit of a footer on the house, gives it a little bit more detail. And that'll of course help the rendering later on. So now, just as a sort of a quick thing that we can do is, instead of doing the textures, like we have all the wood and stuff and then the brick, we can sort of do that rather quickly later on, rather than drawing them all in individually. If this was more of a ridged clapboard where a height differential would be noticeable, I'd probably draw them in or model it. But as these are just it's just sort of a paneling, the sort of the gaps and things, I'm not entirely sure they're worth drawing in. So we'll leave it like that for now. But what we can do, where sort of these panels change direction from vertical to horizontal, is we can draw in those separation lines to sort of help the texturing when we do that later. So draw that in there, and a little bit of an easier step than some of the other ones we've done. And I think it's just those few lines there that we need to do, as we can't really tell what the back of the house looks like. And if we do look at the picture again, the panels are vertical on this side of the house on the top, but they're horizontal underneath. But we don't really need to do anything there because the floors are already separated into their components. So I think that'll do that. What we'll move on to doing now is sort of these ridge lines on the roof and adding a little bit more roof detail. So we can see here that there are at least 8 visible lines. So then we can just go in. We'll just draw on some guides like we've done with the windows and stuff. So we'll draw 10 of these lines, and then that way we can have one on each side of the roof itself and then still have 8 in the middle. So we'll pull this over to that point there as well. And so now if we just look at the distance, pretty much 1 foot 2 inches. And so then we'll go in, we'll leave the roof and we'll draw a separate component. So we'll just draw a line straight up to here and then down the back side. And then we'll draw it up 0.5 of an inch. And then match the line. We'll draw a line straight up from there and then down on this line again. You can just inference it by highlighting it and then following the purple pink line. And then we'll pull it over 0.5 that way and then 0.5 the other way. We'll triple click this, say group, say side roof ridge, and then pull that to there, and then a 1/2 inch to center it, and we'll do that for the rest of these. And we'll do the backs as well because we kind of forgot that, but it's not too big of an issue because they're all components, so all the other ones that we've copied will mirror the same changes. We can go out here, and then so all of those are now updated. So we'll take 3 more of these and bring them over to this line and center them up. So we have those, and so we have all of those lines there now. I think we'll actually delete that one and then push this roof back over a little bit. Not too far, but maybe to about there. And then what we can do is effectively stretch these and just sort of customize it a little bit more. And I think that matches up a bit better with the drawing. We'll just erase these for now as the ridge is a little bit more manipulated. And we'll just see what the space between these is. Pretty much 1 foot 3 inches. So we'll just drag this over on the red, say 1 foot 3, and then do a bunch more of these. And now for all of the ones that are sort of clipping through extra geometry, what we can do is we'll just say make unique, then go into it, triple click it, and then say intersect faces with model. And we'll do that for the rest of these as well. Like that, and then we can just go and turn the roof off, second floor, first floor, And yeah, I guess again we can change our doors here to the first floor. And just go back to our roof ridges and then just erase the lines that clip through stuff like that. And then we can turn our roof back on again so we can see it. And this one clips through as well. So we'll say make unique, highlight everything and intersect faces, and turn the roof off, and we can erase those lines. And so those are the ridges on that part of the roof. And now we can move on to the other two. Bring it in about, say, 10 inches. Pull it up there again, and we can just control pull it across. Make sure we reverse our face on this side. And then we can just bring this over basically 1'3", say X10. See how many that does. We can erase our guides. Not quite all of them, so we'll do that again. And I think what we'll do in the case of this many ridges over the course of the roof is we'll just highlight all of them and then scale it so that it fits the roof a bit better. Maybe to about there. I think that looks pretty good. And then we can do the same with the ridges that are clipping through down here. So now we'll move on to the back roof. And so we'll pull this over 10 inches as it was before. The 1'3", say X10. And see how many of those we need. And that actually covers it perfectly. The only one that we need to edit is this one. Then we can turn off the roof and the second floor. And we can pretty much just erase all of this except for the back. And we'll highlight all of these before we go back, excluding Steve, and move those to the roof layer. So now that they should be on the roof. We can toggle the second floor, and we'll actually go in and add a little bit more detail to the side of the roof. So we'll draw a line down, say 2 inches all around, and then we can just trace off our guides here. Now the problem is, because these are slanted faces, obviously we can't push this in because it's not squaring it off. We'd have to do that. So I guess what we will do is actually pull it out. And it will throw off the ridges a little bit, but that doesn't necessarily matter a whole lot. We'll just pull it out 0.5 of an inch. And this step isn't particularly important. It doesn't really matter if there's a ridge going around the edge here, but it does give it a little bit more detail, which all sort of just contributes to the final product. And that will do it for the sides of the roof. And I think what we'll actually do as well is go in and add a little bit more detail underneath. And we'll just offset them a tiny bit. We can trace out the edges of where the roof meets the house, just to make it a little bit easier. So if we just toggle the second floor off, you can see the exterior shape that we need here. And then we can just take our offset tool and we'll offset this, say, an inch. We'll push this up, say 0.5. Then we can fill in this shape on this side of the house. And the way that these two sort of edges of these panels intersect isn't really going to square off that well right now. So I think we'll just leave that the way it is. Have that strut, because both of these roofs, as we've sort of encountered in previous parts, aren't lined up perfectly well, but it's sort of the best we can do with the way that the walls are laid out. So we'll just leave that piece in there for now. So we'll just move on to the other sections. And sometimes these panels sort of think they're all one piece, even though they shouldn't be. So we'll just draw in these extra corners here. And yeah, that helps figure it out. And we'll actually try and keep this one on the same sort of face without introducing a ridge in between. So we can push this up 0.5 and this up 0.5. Of course, we'll still have this little weird piece in between, but we'll just erase that for now. And then draw on these extra pieces to pull a line across and fill this gap back in. Like that. We'll erase our extra lines. Alright, make sure everything else looks okay. Didn't erase any important lines by accident. We can turn all of our stuff back on here. And I think, so that'll do it for the underside of the roof there, and I guess we'll do the front here as well. This one will be a bit easier. There we go. That'll do that. And so I think, unless I've forgotten something else again, that'll do it for all of the sort of the exterior facets. There's nothing else that I can think of or can see that needs to be done. And so that will wrap it up for the exterior of the house. And we'll get into texturing and things later on once we're ready to do the rendering process. But for now, that will wrap up the exterior of the house, and we'll wrap up this video. So next time we can start getting into the interiors of things, start doing, you know, like furniture and cabinetry, doors and trim and all that kind of good stuff. So stay tuned for that. Thank you everybody for watching. I'll see you next time.